There are still, the whole Maruti, Suzuki, Toyota partnership still focusing on strong hybrids. We all know right now that, yes, for a customer, BEV makes a lot of sense. Also brings that green tag with it. But from a production of electricity, again, production supply from a overall ecosystem perspective, as well as the cost, right? We just talked about raw materials that go into LII and tech, uh,
Mhm.
sourcing of that, etc. So those things, if you look at the entire picture, those things are problems. Now there are these OEMs that are focusing on strong hybrids. They're about to launch strong hybrids in the industry. There are other OEMs that have gone full fledged into BEVs. Have bespoke platforms going for them, and then we have companies that are completely wanting to focus on fuel cell. So I'd say in the next 7 to 10 years time frame, right? That's I think that's probably the point where we will finally see this play out. What do you think is, or what in your opinion is the right strategy right now? Because there are companies that are not picking up this, or getting on this electric bandwagon immediately. They are waiting it out. They are giving it a few more years. And also one additional point, sort of a counter opinion, but counter view. But you said that CNG sales haven't picked up, and yes, they sort of got their, or they picked up and they sort of plateaued out. We
Mhm.
are seeing recently in recent months that there is talk of having increased number of CNG stations, because in this transition towards full electric, and with the ongoing crises, and as well as the cost of importing fuel, CNG does seem to be something that again OEMs are going with. They are increasing the number of offerings that traditionally were only ICE. They are pretty much all of them are now one by one also having a CNG offering. So from this overall perspective, like what are your thoughts here?
Uh, See, if you look at electric mobility, especially the battery electric part, the real challenge today is the higher cost of the battery, right? Now, in terms of the charging infrastructure, if you look at some companies like Tata Power, they tied up with so many corporations, governments, and cooperative societies that are going to put up charging infrastructure. Now, the pricing for public charging infra in different states is different. It's basically linked to the average power purchase cost or the imported power purchase cost in respective states, and the formula is the APPC price plus 15%. But a lot of states have actually gone ahead and uh, you know uh, come out with a very competitive pricing as far as public charging is concerned. Maharashtra, I think the pricing is around 4.5 rupees. Yesterday, I was part of the Chandigarh EV policy discussion. So the principal secretary there announced the pricing of 3 rupees 60 paisa. So even if your kilowatt hour per kilometer is say 1.1 or 1.2, and 3.6 into 1.1 or 1.2, your per kilometer cost is hardly 4.5 rupees. So as compared to your say 100 rupees diesel cost, and your mileage is say bus mileage is roughly in the range of not more than 4 or 5. So you are against 20 rupees of diesel price per kilometer, you have a 4.5 5 rupees as the running cost. So that is a very strong attractiveness. And with this recent policy change by the government, if solar pricing interstate, currently if your generation is 2 rupees, your landed price could not, which today is probably in the range of 4 or 4.5 rupees. If that price actually can come down to 2 2.5 rupees, and companies still make 25% return on the investment, I think that will be a big boost from an electric mobility perspective. Only thing is we need to have reasonably competitive battery solution available, which is from a what we call it as EAM, Earth Abundant Material. So if that is available, I think electric mobility can pick up, and I think most of the bigger companies, I think, are definitely working on that strategy. But obviously, they may not have declared those strategies, but they are definitely looking at those kind of solutions. So second area is about this LNG buses also. LNG buses in intercity, intracity, those buses sometimes they The pricing seems to be around 60, 62 rupees per or 70 rupees per liter as compared to current diesel price of 70 or 100. I believe the LNG kits are also available in the country at a reasonable price. So retrofitment of existing vehicles with LNG or CNG could be a solution, but you need to really look at how long in the longer term. See, because ultimate aim of all this entire exercise is zero pollution. If you are not moving towards zero pollution from transportation or from manufacturing, the entire purpose of investing so much of money may get defeated. So, LNG is a good source of energy. The quantity is increasing. I was part of the deliberations and discussions of Indian Gas Exchange also. Actually, I did the valuation for the company also. So I am aware of the kind of business model that they are following. So the current gas requirement may go up from current levels to around 3 or 4 times. But important parameter is that how long you'll keep using LNG? Can it be replaced with something else? So these are all challenges. So CNG or LNG, the demand is definitely picking up, but obviously it is for respective companies to look at what kind of models they want to really follow. My only worry is what happened to pagers should not happen to any of these technologies. And pagers actually in 3-4 years of time they started taking off, and the entire technology got wiped out. So it should not something that should happen to any of these technologies. So it should remain. It should be a competitive technology. It should obviously India needs to have 3, 4, 5 more competitive technologies, but the volume should be significant, and the availability of sustained raw material or sustained source of energy is something which is very critical and important.
Right. So I can see where you're coming from. The CNG bit, the transition bit for bit to get to a full scale electric, where the generation is also towards the carbon neutral front.
Yeah.
Brings up an interesting point as to how you go about it, or get towards get up to that point.
You look at recently, I think Reliance chairman also announced, that they want to be the largest producer of blue hydrogen in the world.
Yes, yes,
So, obviously, we all know how Reliance, works, and they work very competitively. They look at the best solutions in the world. We know what strategy they came out to on Geo, and how they are captured actually 40 crore customers in the last 5 years. So we
right,
know all that. So, looking at all that, if he's saying something, obviously, there is much more beyond what he's saying. So obviously, hydrogen mobility. See, understand one thing: a company like Reliance has said 2035 as a net zero, a year for
right,
them. So, look at such a large operation of 8, 10 lakh, 12 lakh crore, group wanting to get into 100% carbon neutrality in every sphere of the activity, including retail, mobile, refinery, everything. So how are they going to achieve that? So if he's saying it, obviously there is definitely a detailed plan and much more larger investment plan behind that. So then you have Reliance, you have Adani's, you have Tata Group. So all these bigger boys and even oil companies, IOCL, BPCL, and HPCL have been given targets by government to really work out a strategy on electric mobility, including green hydrogen. So all these guys, and as you would be aware, refineries and fertilizers have been asked to consume 10% of their hydrogen requirement as green hydrogen in the next 2 years, and another 15% in the next 5 years. So
so
I believe India could suddenly become a large hydrogen market.